What is going on, everybody? And welcome back to the KellyCast. Today, I am joined by our special guest, our KellyCast world champion at the moment, and our draft expert, none other than Mitchell Smith.
Wow. Champion. I love to hear it.
That's where my first question lies, buddy. How are you doing it? You are 9-1 through the NFL playoffs so far. Tell us how.
I don't know. I kind of just made sure that I looked at all the matchups and I picked the best winner. Unfortunately, there's that one loss to me, but we're not going to say what loss it is because we all know. And I'm very disappointed, but there's always next season.
Yeah, and that's how Bills fans always are going to treat it. There's always next year, and we can talk about that at a different time. Of course, your Osiris Torrance jersey, love to see it. Let me ask you this, Mitch. Did you miss being in front of the people?
I did, and I apologize to the people themselves. I apologize to the KellyCast members that are begging for me. I understand that. I just had some things going on during the season. I'm with you through the offseason. I promise, Kelly's, that I'm with you through the offseason. I'm with Dan. I'm with Mike. And I promise I'll be on more during the offseason. And then I will try in 2024 to be on during a couple games.
And that's how it goes here. The KellyCast crew, we have different schedules during the football season, but Mitch, being our draft expert, has told me he plans on coming on more often, especially with the combine around the corner. We have some coaching news to get into once we get into this draft. But today we are here to bring you guys Mitch's first top 10 mocked draft picks in the NFL. So I'm very excited to get into this. He sent me some of his notes, and I think this is going to be a really good segment. And Mitch, without further ado, let's get right into it with the number one pick. The Chicago Bears are on the clock. And before I ask you who they're going to select, I want to ask you the probability that you think of this draft pick being traded away.
So I look at last season when they did have the number one overall pick, and we did our mock draft too, but that's when the Panthers traded for the pick. We didn't do one when the Bears had one, unfortunately. So with the Bears, I see it maybe 70% this time around.
70% that they keep it?
That they keep it, yeah.
Okay.
So the reason I say 70 is because I'm not sure what the Bears GM is thinking right now because he has the golden ticket right now, as like people like to call it, for the first overall pick in the draft. He can go numerous different ways. He can stick and pick. He can trade it away. But there's many different scenarios to where the Bears can go if they want to build off of that number one overall pick by trading assets away. Getting assets in return. And then there's also hey, let's hit the reset button and let's stick and pick.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is Justin Fields, right? Because he's a very controversial player in the NFL today. Did he get better in 2023? Yes. I think that answer is very easy to find. But the question is, did he improve enough for the Chicago Bears to believe in him? And not only that, Mitch, but his contract is up after this next season.
Yep.
So if they want to stick with him, they have to know it. And looking at your draft, I don't think you believe in Justin Fields. So we're going to get into the quarterback that you have going here in a second. I want to ask you what you think the best fit would be for Justin Fields. Because if they take a quarterback, we are expecting him to be traded, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So I think the best fit for Mr. Fields is the Atlanta Falcons. Okay. And now the reason why I say Atlanta is because Desmond Ridder is clearly not the answer.
Yeah.
And I was very high on Desmond Ridder, and I saw him in college, saw him at Cincinnati, see what he could have done. But I don't think he's no better than just a backup in the NFL.
And it hasn't worked out for him yet,
no,
right?
not yet.
This was his go in 2023. The Falcons said, okay, we have weapons for you. We have Pitts. We have London. We have Bijan. Let's see what you can do. In the worst division of football, they still couldn't make the playoffs, right? So I think Atlanta's a really good spot. How about Minnesota?
See, that's my second team that might go after Justin Fields. No more Kirk Cousins after this season. We don't know if he's going to resign. Kirk is going to leave. So
I think Kirk is gone. I
yeah,
think Kirk is gone.
if
from
Fields goes to Minnesota, I say watch out for the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay,
they got their quarterback. They have their receivers.
Mm-hmm.
They have a decent enough tight end.
Well, tight end needs to be worked on after they traded T.J. Hockenson, or they traded for T.J. Hockenson.
Hockenson.
My mistake.
So.
How about the Denver Broncos, Mitch? That could be a sleeper team. You want to talk about wide receivers? They got wide receivers in bulk. They're going to need help in the running game, help on the offensive line. But Sean Payton almost brought them to the playoffs after having a terrible start to the season.
Yep.
But let's get back here into the first overall pick with the Chicago Bears. You have them selecting
Caleb Williams out of UFC. So the reason why I have Caleb Williams going here. So first off, Caleb Williams took forever to declare, so I had to wait on this for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why I have Caleb Williams going ahead of another quarterback is for a couple of reasons. One, the Bears hit the reset button on the quarterbacks. Two, he's going to be way cheaper and has a fifth-year option attached to him as soon as he gets drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a cheap deal, fifth-year option, easy enough. And three, I think he's more talented in the way he can throw the ball and stay in the pocket, get outside of the pocket to throw the ball, or to make smart decision, throw it away, and to run the ball. I feel like Caleb Williams is a better prospect than Justin Fields was coming out.
Now, would you say he's the most pro-ready quarterback coming out of college this year?
He's one of the two.
One of the top two.
One of the top two.
So let me ask you this, because a lot of the times when you go high here in 1, 2, 3, anywhere there, you have high expectations put upon you, Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
So my question would be, Caleb Williams versus Justin Fields right now. Is Caleb already better than what Justin Fields is today? Or do you think it might take a little bit of time for him to get there?
I think it might take just a tad bit time. Okay. Not too long, I don't think, because I just feel like Caleb is going to be that dude for Chicago.
Let's move on here to the number 2 selection, which belongs to the Washington Commanders, a team who thought they had their guy, and Sam Howell led the league in passing yards for a long time this year. But passing yards isn't everything. Guess what is everything, Mitch? Passing touchdowns, scoring points, not allowing the other team to score points. And I think Washington, to me, even though they have this number 2 pick, I still like the Commanders, Mitch, as a team, as a roster. I think they're really good. And you think that it's time for a new signal caller, huh?
Yes, and I do. And I have them selecting Drake May, quarterback out of UNC. Now, we all know about UNC quarterbacks in the NFL.
Now, wait. Before we go on here, Mitch, I just have to ask. Is there a possibility that these quarterbacks can be flipped? Do you think there's a possibility that maybe after the combine or after pro days are over, that Drake May could go ahead of Caleb Williams?
Oh, absolutely. Because in my understanding from what I've read and what Caleb has said air quotes, I say, is that he does not want to play for the Bears. Now, that's what everybody says if they're going to be the surefire number 1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of players have said that I don't want to go to this team. I don't want to go to that team. After the combine, after the pre-draft interviews, it could come out and say, "Hey, Caleb Williams." The Bears say, "Hey, we didn't have a good interview with Caleb Williams, but hey, Drake May, we had a great interview with." So Drake May's our guy at number 1.
That's a good point. And we've seen young players refuse to play for teams like Eli Manning with the Chargers being traded obviously away.
Yep.
Tell me why Drake May is a fit for the Commanders at number 2 here.
Well, it's the same reason for the Bears. You're resetting your quarterback. You're getting him on a cheap deal. And from what I've read in the past about Drake May is that he could have went number 1 last year over Bryce Young if he decided to come out.
Now tell me this, Mitch. I read your notes that you sent me over because you did your homework, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
You said this was your favorite quarterback in the class.
Correct.
Now tell me why that is.
Now, the way that yes, he is my favorite quarterback in the class. The reason being is because I watched UNC games against Syracuse when they're on TV and everything. So I've watched them of how he controls the game of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that it's basically he's all the similarities that Caleb Williams is. He stays in the pocket. He makes the throws that are probably harder than most. Makes it, and he just the way the game flows to him. That's what I really like about Drake May. I think Drake May could be a little bit better of a prospect than Caleb Williams now.
Okay.
Now, this could be, like I said, another Bryce Young, CJ Stroud situation.
Let's hope it's not another Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota situation where two guys go in the top of the draft with all the expectations in the world, and it turns out that at best they're good backups.
Correct, yes.
Right?
Yep.
I love seeing young talent. I love seeing young guys succeed. Moving on to the number 3 overall pick. Gosh darn it. How long has it been since we saw the New England Patriots at the top of the draft like this year holding the number 3 overall draft pick? Now, Mitch, I just want to ask you straight out before we get into this. Is New England the worst team in terms of skill position players in the league to you?
Without a doubt, I believe they are the worst with the skill position players.
Okay. I like that answer because I cannot think of a worse team. There's no receiving option. The tight ends are both old. Ezekiel Elliott, not a number 1 back anymore. All of those guys, they just don't work, okay? The Patriots won some games last year due to Bill Belichick, who is now moving on. We'll see where he goes. Still yet to decide. There's one less option to decide. We'll talk about that when we get into pick number 5. A few free agents for them, though, Mitch. Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, Mike Gesicki, Jalen Mills, Ezekiel Elliott, Matthew Slater, expected to retire now at 38 years old. The special teams ace, Mac Wilson, Josh Uche. God, remember Jalen Reagor? Remember when he was touted as the next big thing?
Yep.
Alex Austin, the cornerback who was drafted by the Bills, but the Patriots picked up. He intercepted Josh Allen. I don't know. I think they're going to have to extend him. They have a lot of needs, Mitch. And here at number 3, what do you think is the best option for them?
And I hate to do this, and I really, really hope that they go a different direction. But I have them going Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver out of Ohio State.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about the Patriots' skill position players. And while that may be the worst in the league, their quarterback is not much better, Mitch. So tell me why quarterback isn't your go-to here. Is there somebody that fits as being the number 3 overall draft pick, or do you think the rest of the quarterbacks underneath Drake May and Caleb Williams are worse and they should be taken at a later point?
So there is still one quarterback, I believe, that can still be at the top of the level. We will have to wait and see what the combine has to say about that.
Okay.
But yes, there is one more but after May and Williams for the Patriots to take. Now, the reason why I have him going Marvin Harrison Jr. is because, one, he is uber talented at his position. I have never seen a wide receiver better than him, I think, in a hot minute in college. And I'm a Michigan State fan, and when he played Michigan State, oh boy, I was crying at the TV. I had to turn off the game. I love my Michigan State Spartans. Go green, bleed green forever. But I could not watch the Ohio State game when they beat them 46-0. And I don't even know if it was 46-0. I turned it off. But the way that Marvin Harrison plays his game is just like his dad. All the talent in the world. Go up and get it, receiver. His route running is just unbelievable. And that dude can go up and grab it and watch out. Yards after catch. See you later.
Let's move on to the 4th overall pick in the draft, which belongs to the Arizona Cardinals, who I think are just way overrated. People think Kyler is like this great quarterback, and I'm sorry, he's not. The extension you gave him was not worth it, and the free agents they have this year, Budda Baker, Marquise Brown, Marlon Mack, Greg Dortch, not too many big names here. I think they have one of the least talented teams in the league, and obviously the situation with Budda Baker, I'm not expecting him to go back unless he's franchise tagged. Him and the Cardinals kind of don't get along. There was supposed to be a trade last offseason that didn't end up materializing. The Cardinals need a lot here, Mitch, and I don't know exactly where we're headed, but is this draft pick going to be able to make an impact on such a bad team in a tough division?
So I have Arizona protecting Kyler, and his name is Olu Fashanu, guys. I'm not pronouncing his full name. I cannot pronounce his full name.
I'll put it up on the screen so you guys can see it if you want to try it yourself.
Yes, but we pronounce it as Olu Fashanu, the big tackle out of Penn State. So the reason I have them going tackle is because, one, they did go tackle last year, and they protected him on the left side. Now, the way I look at the Cardinals is that you still need to protect Kyler. That offensive line is just not where it needs to be to protect Kyler in order for him to be a good quarterback. I'm not going to say great, but in order for him to be maybe a top 15 quarterback, you get Olu Fashanu for pass protecting, run blocking. The dude can bulldoze you if he needs to, but he plants his foot in the ground. I say watch out, and your edge rusher ain't going to get past him, I think, in a lot of situations.
Interesting that you have them going back-to-back years at the same position. I don't think that's something we see very often, but, rightfully so. If you think Kyler's your guy, it's important to give him another bookend there. The number 5 overall pick here belonging to the Los Angeles Chargers, who I believe just an hour or two ago announced a new head coach, that being Jim Harbaugh, formerly of Michigan and former quarterback of the San Diego Chargers.
Yep.
What do you think of that move?
Well, as a Michigan State fan, I'm excited because he's no longer in the Big Ten. So I'm sorry, Jim Harbaugh. I'm so excited that you left the Michigan State Wolverines. We'll miss you dearly.
It was time to go.
He
just won the national championship. What else does he have to do?
He doesn't need to do anything.
You got to figure on his bucket list is probably national championship, Super Bowl. What has he not completed?
Super Bowl. Well, let me rephrase that. Since they're in the same conference, go to the AFC Championship game, beat his younger brother.
Yeah, and that's where I was getting into. I mean, he lost to his brother in the Super Bowl already, and they're actually playing each other next year during the regular season.
That'll be interesting.
So we already know it's going to be Harbaugh v. Harbaugh once again. The Los Angeles Chargers, Mitch, one of those teams we did not expect to see in the top 5 here.
Not
Obviously
at all.
Really struggled. The head coach was the issue, I believe. Justin Herbert went through a slew of injuries with his hand and his finger and everything. They lost by, like 70 to the Raiders almost? It was a bad season for the Chargers, and one the fans didn't expect. I feel like the Chargers have never been like the worst team. They're kind of just sitting in mediocre territory. You could usually expect to see them pick around 17, 18 in the draft. But this year, they have the chance to do what the Giants did last year. Now, the Giants had an early pick last year, and then guess what? They decided to play well. I'm talking about like last season, not the season that just happened. So they make the playoffs and they win a game, right? But then what happens when you do so well, Mitch, you then slide down the draft order. And look what happened to the New York Giants this year. Face plant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Chargers have the opposite opportunity here where, okay, they slid, but they're a talented team. They're a good roster. I'm still concerned about them. They have Justin Herbert, right?
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to add to the team here in the 2024 draft with the 5th overall pick?
So I have the Los Angeles Chargers talking about the most hyped prospect, I think, ever since Kyle Pitts, and that is Mr. Brock Bowers out of the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. Shout out to my brother-in-law. He's a big Georgia Bulldogs fan. This guy, I've watched a lot of Georgia games with him. This guy is that dude. He is a mean green machine where he catches that ball and he just bulldozes you after the catch. He's the yards after the catch guy. He can get after in those contested catches. He can play in the slot. He will line up as a traditional tight end, and he's just the most hyped up prospect ever since Kyle Pitts coming out of Florida.
Interesting to see a tight end up here at 5. You really think this is what they need more than anything? Or do you think this is kind of a scenario where Bowers is so talented that even though they need help elsewhere, they go with it? Kind of similar to when the Cowboys took Elliott. They didn't need Ezekiel Elliott, but he was kind of really talented, so they ended up taking him.
So I have a scenario of, Keenan Allen's not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Williams is kind of injury prone. We all know that. So you have Quentin Johnson in the pipeline. He's not quite there yet.
Sucked. Quentin Johnston sucked. I'm sorry. I know you're a rookie, and I'm not saying you're a bust, but you sucked last year, buddy.
So if you really look at the Chargers from top to bottom, the offensive line held its ground last year. I don't think Herbert got sacked that much. But with his injury, obviously, people are going to be like, well, why aren't you going Joe Alt, the tackle out of Notre Dame? Well, from what I saw, I don't think they need a tackle.
Well, they have Slater on the one side.
From
what about defensive line?
Defensive line, I still don't see. I mean, I could see one player going here.
Okay.
But at the same time, I still think Brock Bowers has the talent to be at this pick.
Okay.
Like I said, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, not getting any younger.
And they have not been really that great at tight end ever since Hunter Henry left. I know that their tight end right now, I forget it, Parham is his name. 6'7", big guy, but really hasn't worked out the way they wanted him to. And I know he wasn't a first-round pick. He's capable. And if you take a tight end here, I think he'll be more than capable as a number 2 option.
Oh.
So very interesting that you have them going tight end. Moving on, we have the aforementioned New York Giants at number 6. This is another team that I just can't figure out, Mitch. I don't understand because the coaching's good. We know the coaching's good. I know a lot of Buffalo fans want to take a crap on Brian Daboll and his offense and say, that it didn't work and we wanted him out of here. And even though we wanted him out of here doesn't mean he did a bad job, right?
No, not at all.
Sometimes it's just a change in perspective, a different fit. And I think he's the right fit for the New York Giants, but it didn't work out this year. And I'm very surprised to see at least this mock draft not going offensive line, because I remember seeing the New York Giants play football in the year 2023 against the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, Mitch. And they got sacked 11 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching that game just wondering what was happening. Obviously, Daniel Jones was injured. They have no talent at the wide receiver position. Saquon can't carry the load by himself. Also, a free agent going into next year. I don't think he's going to be returning. The Giants have a lot to do. What do you think is going to be their pick this year in the top 10 here in the draft?
Well, you kind of foreshadowed one of the things you mentioned is that no talent at receiver. I have them going the second best receiver in the class, and that is Malik Neighbors, LSU wide receiver. The dude is kind of similar to Marvin Harrison. Obviously, people were raving over Marvin Harrison just because of the talent, just because of his dad. Malik Neighbors has probably almost a little bit similar numbers to Marvin Harrison, had a similar year, and he adds your speed and he adds explosiveness. And Giants, you get your number one. You get your number one. This is going to be your number one for 5 years.
Not to mention last year with Jalen Hyatt, who is a speedster there in the slot. Is Neighbors an outside guy?
Neighbors is definitely an outside guy. He's going to be your wide receiver 1, so he's going to be your outside guy.
Okay.
So
playing at LSU, it's not like he was playing nobodies. He wasn't playing, Appalachian State or anything. He was in the LSU, so he played some big competition there.
Yep.
I don't really have much to go off on the New York Giants. I don't believe in them as a team. They're going to have to do a lot to make me believe in them because they play in another tough division.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas is not going anywhere. Philadelphia had an off year, but don't expect that again. And then Washington is kind of iffy. I don't know what to think of them. Let's move right ahead, Mitch. Keep it going here. Number 7, the Tennessee Titans. What did you think of Will Levis? Did you like what you saw from Levis this year?
I did. And as shockingly that his draft stock went real far down as far as I expected him to go.
That was insane. We were thinking he was going to go in the first round, and then, okay, it's the second round. When's Levis going to go? I remember keeping an eye on that in particular, and he falls into the third round? Wild.
But so for the Tennessee Titans, if Will Levis is the answer and he is your quarterback of the future, you need to protect him. And that offensive line last year did not help whatsoever. Ryan Tannehill or whoever was at the helm at that point, you need to protect your asset. And Will Levis gets some help on the left or the right side, and his name is Joe Alt, the big offensive lineman from Notre Dame. He's kind of a hyped up guy too. I've seen him on a lot of mock drafts going as high as 5, but not as low as 7, just because he had an up and down season at Notre Dame.
Did he?
He did, yeah. Because
now, do you think Alt is a little worse than that tackle we had going earlier?
I don't think so. It's kind of like the quarterback situation. 1A, 1B. This is your tackle 1A, 1B. Okay. The reason I went Fashanu first is because I feel like that the Cardinals need help pass protecting.
Okay.
I feel like Kyle Murray's good at running the ball, right?
Yes.
So with Joe Alt, he's your run and your pass guy.
Okay.
So
he's kind of not great at either, but he's good at both.
He's good at both, and he can solidify. He can solidify the tackle. I believed he played mostly left tackle, but I believe he played a little bit of right, but I think he's going to be your left tackle of the future.
And they've been looking for a tackle ever since Luan.
Yep.
Luan retired.
Taylor Luan, yep.
At an early age. Now running a podcast.
Oh, check it out.
Taylor Luan's podcast. Moving on, though, to the Atlanta Falcons. Again, another team that I don't know where to even start. We talked about Ritter a little bit, and we talked about, where they are as a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're going to be any good here in the future. They are in a division where if you hit on 1 or 2 draft picks, Mitch, you can catch steam and just take over. That division is the most wide open in the entire NFL. Where do you think they need to go here?
I feel like they need to go defense on this pick. And with the 8th overall pick, I have the Atlanta Falcons selecting Dallas Turner, but Dallas Turner, edge rusher out of Alabama. Now, I watched Dallas Turner on the Alabama Crimson Tide, watched him during the Rose Bowl, and he didn't do a whole lot against Michigan. Now that's not saying this guy can fall out of the top 10. This is your first defensive player off the board, folks, and the reason why I have him going at 8 is for a lot of reasons. He is one step, fast, hands, strength, and quickness. That's what you need off the edge. And I feel that Atlanta needs an edge rusher because that D-line is not getting any younger. And Dallas Turner is kind of your cornerstone to start your defense, your front 7, I should say. To start your front 7, to build off of him. And from what I'm reading right now, they haven't had a 6.5 6.5 sacks in 2023. Haven't had a player record that. Dallas Turner, he's going to get you above probably 6.5.
And the Atlanta Falcons need help on defense everywhere, Mitch. It's not just at edge. Really, I think the only position they're okay at is defensive tackle with Grady Jarrett and safety with Jesse Bates. They got a really good CB1. Other than that defense, probably one of the worst in the league. So, though you have them going Dallas Turner, maybe they're looking a different way. And we'll find out more after the combine hits, right? So, Of course, please stay up to date with everything here at the KellyCast, with Mitch, with myself, with Mike, with all our posts on all our social medias. Follow us at the KellyCast. And while you're watching this video, don't forget to leave a like, share, subscribe, let all your friends know, your enemies know, your fish, your dog, your cat. I don't care. Just tell them to hit that subscribe button. Let's move on to the number 9 pick here, Mitch. Also owned by the Chicago Bears. This one's their own pick, right?
Yep, this one's their own.
Number 1 was not, because that's Carolina's pick. I'm going to go on and say that if the Bears stay at number 1, I would expect them to move from 9.
And I fully agree with that.
Because you need to, if you're the Chicago Bears, your team is not there yet. And you can get there. You can get there this year, honestly, if you make the right moves, the right decisions. I don't think it's the right decision. I don't know if it's the right or wrong decision. Honestly, I'm kind of 50-50 on the whole head coach situation, keeping their head coach in town, but firing all the offensive coaches. I don't know how I feel about that. But for today, Mitch, we're going to say the Chicago Bears have this pick. What do you think they need to address?
And I'm going to do back-to-back defensive players. And with the 9th overall pick, I have them selecting Latu, an edge rusher out of UCLA.
This guy's got the same first name and last name?
Correct. That's how they pronounce it, Latu.
Okay.
So the reason I have him going Latu, and with Jan Jeremiah going Jared Verse, the reason I have Latu going is because Latu has that speed.
Okay.
And has the quickness to become another pairing for Montez Sweat. Now, we all know that Montez Sweat signed that big extension with them.
Yes.
You need another partner for him. Latu brings that versatility. If you line him inside, if you line him outside, I feel like Latu is going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think, in my opinion. I still like Dallas Turner a little bit more than Latu, but Latu can even be the first defensive player off the board. I don't know, but I like Latu as a player because of the way he just plays the game, the way that he comes off the edge, bursts of speed off the edge like Dallas Turner. Maybe a little. Dallas Turner is a little stronger than Latu, but I think Latu is just right up there with Dallas Turner becoming the first edge rusher.
And we'll see who's stronger when they take to the combine and do those reps of 225 as many times as they possibly can. But can you imagine being named Mitchell just for a second? How do these football players succeed in life with these names? I just don't get it. With the last pick here in today's video, we have the New York Jets. Now, the Jets disappointed in 2023, to be fair. Aaron Rodgers had 4 snaps and then snap, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what happened. Going to be interesting to see if he is what he was or if he's not what he used to be. I will say the Jets have an insanely good defense.
Yep.
They have Breece Hall on offense, who I think is still one of the most explosive players in the league. Even after tearing his ACL, Mitch, he's still got that explosiveness. He's got that speed, breakaway kind of stuff. Dalvin Cook didn't work out, so they're going to need to pair somebody with Breece, but I don't think that's here in the draft. What do you think they need to address to get themselves a little closer to the talent pool here in the AFC East, that being the Bills and Dolphins at the top?
Well, this is the final pick in the top 10, and the New York Jets, after that horrible 4-play performance by Mr. Aaron Rodgers, you got to protect him, Dan. And we all know about protection in the NFL.
Okay.
The third tackle off the board, I'm not going to pronounce his first name because I forgot it already, but his name, it's an Oregon State offensive tackle. His name's Fuaga.
I'm going to go with Talise.
Talise Fuaga.
Talise
okay.
or Talisi. I'm going to say Talise.
I say Talise Fuaga. He is the offensive tackle out of Oregon State. So the reason why I have him going an offensive tackle is because now the Jets are probably upset that Joel and Fushanu probably went earlier than expected. Maybe. Who knows? Like I said, this is a mock draft, so...
And they could move up.
Yeah.
If they like Alt better or if they like the big Samoan tackle, they can move up. Remember, all these picks here might not even be the correct team.
Mm-hmm.
It is January 24th when we record this. I don't know when you guys are exactly going to be seeing it because I'm going to have to edit it and make sure it looks really nice and pretty. So please bear with us. But I like that for the Jets for 2 reasons. When your team takes an offensive lineman, as an opposing team's fan, I'm all for it, man. He can't really hurt me in a lot of ways.
Nope, you cannot.
It's not a sexy pick, but sometimes it's the right pick, right? So I like where you're going. I think we had a lot of variety in this draft. A bunch of edge rushers, some quarterbacks, a wide receiver, a tight end. Skip to your team if you guys want to. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow us all at the KellyCast. Mitch, we want to thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.
We'll be seeing you again soon.
Real soon.
And as always, give them a go Bills, buddy.
Go Bills, baby.